Plug in.
It's 4:30, and on WKYT this morning, we're tracking the latest after police say 2 fast food employees were robbed while leaving their late-night shifts this morning.
It was a close call for a Lexington man whose car caught fire while he was driving through the city.
And a man is recovering after police say he was struck in the head and robbed by 2 strangers overnight.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning and welcome into WKYT This Morning. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Rebecca Smith. Thanks so much for being here with us. Let's get a first check of the weather right now with Micah.
And boy, things look pretty good outside. It's not all that bad and it feels quite nice. Maybe a little patchy fog here and there, but no real rain threat early this morning. I would say in the next 3 to 4 hours, you could start to see one of these thunderstorms roll on through, but for the most part, we are staying dry. Temperatures there in the 60s. Like I said, it's not a bad feel. The humidity's up just a bit. And we'll be sitting at 83 degrees this afternoon, which is a little bit warmer than what we have experienced the past few days. Strong thunderstorms again today. It's going to be rounds all week long. And I'll take you into your latest forecast. Afternoon comes up in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll see you in just a little bit. Thank you. Let's get to the news. And new this morning, a man is recovering after police say he was assaulted overnight in Lexington.
Yeah, police say the man was walking along Cambridge Drive near Village Drive at about 1 in the morning. That's when 2 men approached him and struck him in the head with an unknown object and then stole his wallet. He was taken to UK Hospital and is expected to recover. A K-9 unit was called to the scene. No arrests at this point have been made. Well, we are tracking a second overnight robbery in the city this morning. This one happened on Lane Allen Road just after 2 o'clock in the morning. Police say 2 Burger King employees were approached by 2 men who threatened them at gunpoint. The suspects took off with cash and a cell phone. No arrests have been made. One suspect is described as wearing a hoodie and had a small gun. The other suspect was wearing a white T-shirt. Police are now reviewing the restaurant surveillance.
Frightening moments for a Lexington man overnight when his car caught on fire while he was driving. That happened just after midnight this morning on North Limestone near the Goo Goo Car Wash. Fire crews say the driver was having some car trouble, so he pulled over. That's when his car caught on fire. The driver tells us that some quick thinking helped him escape unhurt.
Here I felt the brakes weren't working. I saw that the light was red, so I had to make a decision whether to run that light and take the chance of hitting the car or hitting something. I tried to pull in there, so I pulled in here and just threw it in park. When I jumped out the car, 2 ladies was over there, and they said, "Hey, the car's on fire."
If you noticed the man's neck brace and arm sling, he told us he was involved in a separate wreck on his motorcycle just a couple of days ago.
Well, new this morning, a Lexington man's been arrested in connection to a robbery. 31-year-old Michael Renfro was arrested yesterday and charged with first-degree robbery. Police say he was wearing a bandana and held a knife to a woman's throat on June 4th. They say the woman threw her cell phone and money towards him and ran away. Officers say they later found a bandana, knife, and the woman's cell phone at the scene. Renfro is scheduled to be arraigned later today.
New this morning, a woman is recovering at UK Hospital after a crash in Bath County. It happened yesterday along Kentucky 36. Kentucky State Police say 20-year-old Lindsay Spence was driving when she crossed the center line and crashed into another vehicle. Spence was taken to an area hospital and then on to UK Hospital. Troopers say she is stable now. We have no word yet on the condition of the other driver. One man is dead and a public official in the hospital this morning after a crash in Perry County. That crash happened around 7 last night on Combs Road. Police believe one of the cars crossed the center line and hit the other car head on. One of the drivers died. His passenger went to the hospital. The driver of the other car was Perry County District Court Judge Leanne Stevens, who was taken to the hospital but is expected to be okay. The names of the other victims have not been released.
Well, a state police trooper killed in the line of duty has been laid to rest. Hundreds were in Anderson County yesterday to remember Trooper Eric Chrisman. The 23-year-old died in a crash last week while responding to a call near the Marshall-Livingston County line. Chrisman graduated from the police academy 6 months ago. Police from Suarez, California made the trip to Lawrenceburg to offer one last salute.
This young man, he dedicated his life at a very young age. He was only 23 years old. Come and serve and wear the uniform, and I'm humbled to have been able to say we had somebody like that in our agency.
Well, the class of troopers who graduated with Chrisman in January stood watch at his graveside as the State Police Honor Guard gave his parents the flag they had covered his coffin.
The community is certainly proud of his service. Our time this morning is 4:35, and law enforcement agencies across the country are on high alert this morning amid a terror warning for the July 4th weekend.
The warning follows calls by ISIS last week to take up arms against enemies during the holy month of Ramadan. CBS's Hannah Daniels has the latest.
In New York City, where one of the nation's biggest fireworks displays is set to take place, officials will be keeping an eye on things from the air and the ground.
There's going to be a very robust deployment of both patrol resources, plainclothes resources, technology.
Sources tell WCBS officials will use dozens of mobile cameras to monitor the festivities. Manhole covers will also be welded in place. The developments follow a joint intelligence bulletin issued last week, urging members of law enforcement to remain vigilant to prevent a possible terror attack on U.S. soil.
I would say that this is the most serious level of threat that I've seen since September 11th.
While federal officials maintain there is no specific threat, they remain concerned about ISIS, specifically the group's use of social media when successfully recruiting Americans and other Westerners.
I think one of the reasons they're so successful is because they're perceived to have the momentum. They perceive to be winning.
On Monday, 23-year-old Allah Sadeh of New Jersey was charged with providing material support to ISIS. According to the criminal complaint, Sadeh bought a plane ticket for his brother to fly overseas to join the terror group. Hannah Daniels, CBS News, New York.
Well, if convicted, he faces up to 20 years in prison. The warning comes less than a week after attacks in France, Kuwait, and Tunisia.
Prisons are meant to keep people in, but some inmates at a minimum security prison have been getting out, according to prison data obtained by WKYT News. Over the last 5 years, an average of 5 inmates escaped from the Blackburn Correctional Complex in Lexington each year. So far this year, 5 inmates have already escaped. A veteran employee with the prison tells us that he thinks the escapes are tied to the warden's decision to give inmates an extra hour in the yard each night. The warden pushed the inmate head count back from 8 to 9 p.m. in 2013. 12 of the 18 escapes have happened since then and were reported around 8 p.m.
Impossible. Impossible. There's no way that could happen. That's when they discover them missing. And that's what they're not telling the public.
Just wanted to give them an extra, especially this time of year when it doesn't start getting dark until around 9 p.m.
The prison's warden says he does not think adding another inmate count before 9 or putting up fences is necessary because it is a minimum security prison. But the officer who worked there for more than 5 years says if it is too easy for inmates to simply walk off.
It's a big win for the coal industry. The Supreme Court rejected the Environmental Protection Agency's rules requiring power plants to cut certain emissions. The court ruled the EPA must reconsider its regulations on mercury and other emissions from coal-fired power plants. They say the agency did not consider the cost of the regulations on utilities and power customers before implementing them. Kentucky and 20 other states challenged the rules.
Well, the time this morning is 4:38. It really is nice to have you with us here on this Tuesday, and WKYT This Morning is just getting started.
Well, new moms need sleep, and they need to make sure baby is sleeping safely. We'll have some advice from moms every day up ahead.
And we have some storms in Indiana headed our way once again. It looks like strong, potentially severe weather for the afternoon. I'll get into your latest forecast and those details coming up next.